Back for season 5, episode 10 of How to Get Away with Murder. Um, I think there's only a few more episodes left. I'm not sure, but anyway, it looks like we're in the front of a church or somewhere, and the ice is starting to melt, and blood is being revealed under the ice, which I'm going to assume is D.A. Miller's blood from the wedding. I'm not quite sure. Right, we're moving on. And Connor shows up at Asher's house, and he's all beat up or whatever. I don't remember how he got beat up, but he is. He's always beat up for some reason. But Asher lets him, Asher says, "Hey, are you here to make my face look like yours?" And he's like, "No." He's actually there just to eavesdrop on Gabriel because Gabriel and Asher's apartments are close and they can hear through the wall. So he eavesdrops just to kind of hear what Gabriel's doing, and he's listening to some kind of motivational video and working out, whatever. So we go back to the house, and Michaela is trying to convince Oliver that they all should file a wrongful death suit against somebody on behalf of Nate Sr. And Oliver's reminding her, like, hey, remember Nate Jr. told you to leave it alone. It's going to be too much stress, so he's not going to be happy about it. Let's just leave it alone for now. But Michaela is going to keep pushing it, so she don't know when to quit. So we move on to the next scene, and Laurel found the bloody blanket that the baby was in last episode. So now she puts it in a garbage bag and pushes it up under the crib. So I don't know if she's saving it or hiding it, but in the meantime, she calls Bonnie, and Bonnie doesn't answer. And so Bonnie, Frank, and Nate are at Bonnie's house, and Frank is insisting that Nate tells him where the body's at, and Nate's like, "No, they're never going to find it. I'm never going to tell you." And Frank was like, when they do find it, you're going to be the first suspect. Look at your hand; like his hand is all bruised and battered from beating D.A. Miller's head to beating him to death with his hands, basically. So Bonnie just kind of sides with Nate and tells Frank, like, hey, this is Nate's call, so we're going to go with what Nate says. He knows what he's talking about. So I'm assuming the body's going to be found soon, and then this whole investigation is going to have to start, and blah, 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 whoop-de-whoop. All right, and then Frank calls Eve. Eve is the white lady that is Annalise's on again, off again, girlfriend slash best friend slash whatever. But Eve doesn't answer her phone, but Annalise answers Eve's phone while she's in the shower. And Frank is like, "Hey, where's Eve? Why you answer her phone or whatever, whatever?" And they're getting, they're talking, and Annalise says, "No, hey, bring what you have. Bring Gabriel's file over to my house. Me and Eve want to see it." And so I guess they're back on at least speaking terms, Frank and Annalise for now. All right, so we are back from the commercial break, and Eve and Annalise are they're chopping it up, and Annalise asks her, why are you showing me the email now? Why didn't you show me all those years ago when you hacked Sam's email address in order to get the information? And she and Annalise wanted to know why she never told her about the email, and Eve is basically telling Annalise, like, I wanted you guys to stay together and blah, 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 just blowing a bunch of smoke up her ass. And Annalise was like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. What's the real story? And Eve insists that is her story and that she came back all these years later in order to make it right. Basically, I don't know what she's going to do to make it right at this point, but that is her goal. Now they have to come up with a plan to stall Gabriel out because he's pushing for information. And Annalise lets Eve know, like, hey, the governor knows that I tried to adopt Wes, so there's not going to be much stalling we're going to be able to do because everybody thinks that Gabriel is going to be a reason that Sam's case gets reopened, but in in all likelihood, it's probably going to be the governor reopening it because she has since discovered that killed Wes killed Sam, and Annalise wanted to adopt Wes a long time ago. So there's going to be a couple degrees of separation that's going to lead the governor back to Annalise, which is going to lead them back to Sam. All right, moving on. So Bonnie and Nate, they're kind of going over their story, going over their alibi and what happened. So basically, they're saying, Bonnie saw Miller at the party. She broke it off with him. She didn't see him anymore. And Nate is coming from the angle that he had to say he never saw Miller, even though he's the person that killed him. Their story is he never saw him. However, Bonnie tells him that, hey, Asher saw you and Miller outside. Asher always seeing something. He need to go mind his business. Because he'd be 2 seconds from snitching every time he's in a scene. just FYI, even though he already didn't kill somebody himself, whatever. So, they have to get him over there and kind of figure out what he knows. In the meantime, we go back over to the community house where everybody lives, and Gabriel is at the door as Asher is leaving to head over to Nate and Bonnie to see what they're calling him about, because they're calling him and he has no idea why, so he has to go over there and see what's going on. So he tells everybody that Sam is his dad, and he's sorry that he lied to them, and he's sorry he left the party early, left the wedding early, blah blah blah, whoop-de-whoop, whatever. So he was, he lets everybody know, like, hey, Annalisa's giving me much information. I think she's covering for Wes. I think Wes was covering for somebody else. And I want to know what y'all know. So he's asking the group what they know, and everybody has their story together. And he asked Laurel, like, he was your fiance and he's the father of your son. Do you think that he would have done all that by himself, with no help? And Laurel has to stick to the story as well, because everybody had a role in Sam's death pretty much. So she gets emotional and kind of just tells Gabriel, like, you're bringing up old feelings. We've already settled that. You need to go. So Gabriel, he gets put out the house. All right. So what else? So Eve's outside. They go back to Annalise's house. Eve is outside taking a phone call, and she's she's trying to be a little bit secretive about it. And she comes back in the house, and Annalise is like, what's going on? How is Vanessa? Which I'm assuming is Eve's wife, fiance, something along those lines. And she was like, she's fine. I just found out she's pregnant, but she doesn't want to be happy about it because Eve and Annalise, when they were dating years ago, Annalise wanted to have a baby with Eve. Anatomically impossible, but none of my business. So Annalise can't be excited about Eve having a baby on the way because she's still kind of mad at the fact like Eve never wanted to have a baby with her. So, they're kind of going back and forth about that. And she lets Annalise know, like, hey, it's time for you to take responsibilities. You decided to choose your career over everything else in life, and all the issues that you have. I can tell that you're still drinking, and it's okay for you to take responsibility for how your life ended up, basically. So Annalise, storms out or whatever. All right, so now Asher makes it to Bonnie's house, and Nate asks him, what did you see? He was like, I saw you and Miller out behind the church. And he was like, what did you see us doing? And Asher says, it was very faint. I couldn't really tell. So Nate tells him what his story is going to be. You never saw me. That was Bonnie. It was vague. It was dark. You couldn't tell anything, but you knew that it was Bonnie out there. And Asher insists, well, whoever you wanted to lie to, I'm not going to lie until I know the whole story. He's irritating. So they let him know basically Miller won't be at work on Monday because motherfucking ass dead. So yeah, so Asher knows yet another secret, and he's shaky. He's not sound in this whole structure for these murders. So y'all need to stop telling him things. But I guess he's gonna be the only thing that's gonna bury this, bury the situation or send everybody to jail. So he has to get on board. Sorry, let me sit up straight. Shit's getting interesting. So Bonnie has to go back to work and pretend that she doesn't know. Well, Bonnie and Asher have to go back to work and pretend that they don't know that Miller's dead. So Bonnie goes back to work and she realizes that Miller left a really sweet note on her desk, looking forward to be your plus one at the wedding, hearts and kisses and blah 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 whatever. So that tugged at my heartstrings a little bit, but the bitch still had to die because he got Nate's dad killed. So oh well, but you dead now, whatever. So and Asher also has to act like he doesn't know that Miller's dead. So he has a coffee labeled for Miller that he normally brings in on Mondays or every day because he's the errand boy at this point. He has to act like he doesn't know anything. And, he's talking to the secretary like, what's happening? And they're already processing his office and whatever. So Nate is basically narrating how the investigation process is going to go. And he's preparing Bonnie and Asher to play their roles. So Bonnie's being questioned and she's playing her role very well. Like she don't know what the hell's going on. And the night that Nate got rid of Miller's car and his body, he called Bonnie from his phone to basically give her an alibi on the timeline of the last time they spoke on the phone. Okay, so now Eve is moving on. Eve is following up on leads because she's trying to learn more about Vivian, and Liz is just like, your job is done. You can go home now. And she's just like, no, I'm here to help you, whatever. And while they're talking, Annalise's boss shows up from the law firm, and he wants her to look over his inappropriate conduct case that Annalise is supposed to be working on for him. And And he gets back to work and he's talking to Keegan, and he's unsettled, and he's kind of trying to figure out like what Annalise is up to, but they have no idea. So Michaela shows up to Miller's office, and she sees Asher, and she was like, Asher, can you ask Miller for some documents so we can go ahead and get this unlawful death suit on and popping. And Asher can't tell her what's going on, so he's like, I can't ask for favors, I don't want to talk to him. And she's like, well, why did Bonnie call you? And he's like, it's personal. So he's trying to let her know as little as possible to keep her out of the situation, and also not have her worry about what the hell's going on. So Michaela, mind your business. He's trying to look out for y'all. Go over there. Shut up. All right. So now Miss Laurel, she is getting all emotional because oh boy asked about West, and kind of just told her don't worry about it. When it's time to tell the baby about West, tell him he was a great man, superhero, because if it wasn't for West, they all would have went to jail for Sam's death. All right, so Nate pulls a very genius move at this point because Frank told him last scene, like, hey, you're going to be the first person they question. You're going to be the first suspect because your hand is broken and your hand's all beat up from you beating Miller to death. And when they find him, they're going to know he was beat to death, basically. So Nate seeks out the man that shot his dad in the head, at the order of the governor and at the order of Miller. So he finds him, and I thought he was going to kill him, but he starts punching the man and punching and punching and punching the same way he did Miller. So I thought he was dead, but I'm coming to realize that he did that to explain his injury in a feasible way without having to admit to killing Miller. Boy, this shit getting deep. I'll be back. All right, so we are back from the break, and Eve and Annalise are arguing about Annalise finding somebody to love on her and blah blah blah, and being who she is unapologetically. And Annalise is telling her about she's having to save her. She needs to save herself first of all. About Eve's white privilege and her ability to be herself wholeheartedly and not have to worry about the backlash from society. Blah blah blah. It's too deep for me. Um, and Asher is kind of finagling some information out of the secretary, and he learns that Miller's battery was faulty, and his battery kept dying. So maybe that was why he was on the payphone. Maybe it had nothing to do with Nate's dad. So even in death, Asher was trying to stick up for Miller. Maybe, I don't know. If Nate was wrong, now what? He dead. There's nothing you can do about that. So yeah. Michaela has kind of figured out a workaround in order to get the silver suit underway on behalf of a Nate Senior. She wants to use Keegan since she's keeps running into brick walls. And she kind of goes to Keegan under the guise that it'll make the board like her again, because remember when the kid shot himself in Keegan's office last season, she's kind of on the outs with the board and nobody really likes her where she works. So that is Michaela's way to get back in good with Keegan and to still get the civil case underway for Nate Sr. All right, and then we go over to Bonnie, and she's in her office, and we know that she received a note from Miller prior to the wedding, but we also see she opens the drawer and she has like a stack of little sticky notes of little, sweet nothings that he would write on notes for her, and we're having dinner tonight, and she has a moment where she's kind of breaking down, and then she kind of she gets over it, puts that steel face back on, and she goes and she puts a bug in one of her coworkers' ear. Hey, I overheard Miller. Me and Miller were dating, and I overheard him talking to the warden. Can you look up some information for me and see, basically just to see if the warden was really involved and to confirm that Miller was really involved. She may be, rethinking her role in his death, or she may want to look the information up, but she knows that the investigation is underway and she can't look it up, so she wants to use him as a tool to get the information. So we'll see. So we move on, and Annalise, Frank, and Eve have found some type of information about Gabriel's mom, and she was a drug addict at some point, and now she works somewhere, some job I don't remember. And what they're going to attempt to do is get Annalise to blackmail Gabe in order for him to leave Sam's case alone in order to protect his mom. So I think he's buying it. Annalise thinks he's bought into the whole thing of she found out a lot of information. She may be involved in somebody's death or something like that. I don't remember the bulk of what happened, but basically she's trying to get Gabriel to leave Sam's case alone in order to protect his mom Vivian. So I don't know which one weighs more to him and which one he gonna choose. This ending is it's traumatic. So Eve is packing up and she's about to leave Annalise's house. She's about to go home. She lets Annalise know, like, I'm only a flight away. I'm only a phone call away. You know, keep your head up, keep your eyes open, whatever. So Gabe's in the shower and he gets out the shower and his burner phone is ringing. And it is a call from the FBI. And the FBI says, hey, we're calling you. You need to give us a call back. We're calling you because of a voicemail that you left to Miller. Last episode when he was at the end and we didn't know who he was calling on his burner phone, and he was saying, hey, I screwed up. They know who I am. He was talking to Miller. So I don't know how Gabriel and Miller have a relationship, but they do. So that'll be interesting to see how those two know each other. And then Seth, which is Bonnie's co-worker, who she put the bug in his ear, he gave her a jump drive that has, I guess, the warden's phone calls on there to confirm whether Miller actually set up Nate's dad. She's going to listen to that later on in a little bit. We'll get back to that. So Nate goes to Annalise's house and tells Annalise everything, and he lets her know, like, I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to be aware of what's going on. And Annalise says, you know, hey, now that you told me this, I am aware that the governor is going to come for both of us very hard now. So the governor is going to be after Annalise and Nate if she finds out. And Nate lets her know, like, that's not going to be the case, because the way the story is going to unfold is the governor killed Miller because Miller helped you. Miller, the governor. Okay, this is Nate's story. The governor hired Miller to get my dad assassinated, to kill him in the transfer, and then the governor killed Miller so that he wouldn't squeal the plan. However, we go back to the jump drive and we realize that Bonnie is listening to the call when Miller was in the phone booth, when he was at the payphone, and he was talking to the warden. He let him know, hey, my phone died, but I'm giving you a call to let you know Nate works for me. He's a good guy. I want to make this transfer as smooth as possible. Meaning, Miller did not set up Nate's dad to get killed. It was somebody else. So I don't know if that ties back into Gabe's call to Miller, or it was more of the governor working with somebody else, but it wasn't Miller. Miller died for nothing but natural selection, I suppose. I don't know, but Miller's dead. The recorded call shows that he did not call to put the hit on Nate's dad. He just called to make sure the transfer was supposed to go as smooth as possible. So that's messed up because they killed him for no reason, but whatever. So they're watching it. The kids, the gang, they're watching the news, you know, hearing that Miller's missing, and Michaela kind of puts two and two together, like, hey, you were acting weird at the office today. You knew the whole time, you didn't tell us. And he was trying to tell her, like, no, I had no idea. And so basically, you know, she blurts out, like, hey, Bonnie had blood on her leg, and then Laurel is like, yeah, and she had the baby, and the baby's blanket has blood on there. So they're kind of putting two to two together and realizing that Bonnie has something to do with Miller's murder. So they tripping. Miller dead. He wasn't supposed to die. It was a mistake, and this too much. So we're gonna see what happens on the next episode. So stay tuned.